Good morning, and I want to welcome you to another Read Aloud. During these Read Alouds, we're going to be reading a lot of different types of stories from a long time ago. We're going to be reading fairy tales and fables and tall tales and legends. Today's story is going to be an example of a Greek myth. Now, the one thing that's special about myths is that when they were created to go and tell how things came to be. Because these are so old, we didn't really understand the way the world works. But people would still ask why things happen, where these things came from, or why things are the way that they are. Now, because they didn't understand how things were created, they didn't understand how the world worked, they created stories that included a lot of fantasy elements, a lot of magic, for example. Because if you came to me and said, well, where does a rainbow come from? If they didn't know where a rainbow came from, they would go, well, a rainbow is created by leprechauns. And at the end of the rainbow, there is a pot of gold that if you catch the leprechaun, you can get some of the gold. Well, that's not exactly how a rainbow works. We know now exactly how a rainbow works, but they didn't at that time. So today's story, like I said, is an example of a Greek myth. Today's story is called Arachne the Weaver. Sorry about that. And it tells a story about a woman who makes beautiful tapestries. A tapestry is a picture made by weaving threads together of different colors. And you can make just plain colored tapestries, but very skilled weavers can go and make pictures out of their tapestries. Now, some of you guys, parents might go and make needlepoint where you use thread to make pictures. And that's very similar to what this was. Now, her being so good at this skill leads to her downfall, as the flattery she gets from people that come to see her tapestries from around the area leads to arrogance. And this arrogance gets more and more. And like I said, something might not go very well. Before we listen to our story, I've got a few words that we need to go over. The first word is flattered. And a flattered means to be pleased by attention or compliment. For example, Julie was flattered by the kind compliments she received after reading her book review. The next word is stern. Stern is a way of talking. Oftentimes when parents or teachers really want to get their point across that you shouldn't do something, they'll use a stern voice, which is a harsh or firm or strict voice. For example, their grandmother gave them a stern warning not to explore the woods. The next word is superior, means higher in position or quality. In this story, the word superior is going to mean of higher quality, and it's going to refer to the tapestries. Alice felt that her pie was superior to the others. And our final word that we're going to look at right now is the word tapestry. I've already kind of described that as a woven picture of different colored threads. Now, like I said, it can just be a plain tapestry where you might have just columns of different colors, or it could be a picture like it is in this case. We do have one last word, but I'm not going to go and tell you what it is. Those of you who might be a little bit older listening to this video, you might have already guessed what my final word is going to be from the title, Arachne the Weaver. But let's see how we're going after this video.
A woman is known throughout the country for her wonderful tapestries. The flattery she receives from all that view her pieces of art leads to arrogance. What will happen when she meets someone who might just be better at weaving than herself? Long ago, there lived among the Greeks a young woman named Arachne, who was a very gifted weaver. A weaver weaves or spins threads or yarn together to make cloth. Arachne wove upon a wooden frame called a loom. She did not just weave solid colors, she wove tapestries. wonderful woven pictures that people would hang on their walls as art.
So right here, if you look at our picture, this is a loom. And threads would come down like this, like these white lines. And then the other colored threads would be woven or across. Okay, so we can see that this right here is a tapestry, and we can see a sun and clouds and some hills right here. So when we talk about tapestries, we're talking about the picture. And when we're talking about a loom, it's this wooden frame that the threads hang down on.
People came from distant lands to see these masterpieces in Arachne's studio. A visitor might comment, "This is amazing! Why, look at the leaves on this tree. They look so real that you almost expect them to move in the breeze. And this deer in the meadow looks as if he might be going to turn and bound away." The visitors would tell Arachne, "You are the finest weaver in all the world." But then they would add, "Except, of course, for the goddess Athena, who invented weaving." Athena was actually the goddess of all handicrafts, not just weaving. At first, when people compared Arachne's work to that of Athena's, Arachne was flattered. But as years passed, she began to get annoyed. She would say, "I'm sure Athena is very talented, but look, did you see this one over here?" As still more years passed, whenever people compared her to the goddess, Arachne would angrily say, "I don't care if Athena invented weaving. I think I am the best weaver in the world." Word of this eventually reached the ears of the goddess Athena on Mount Olympus. She decided to visit Arachne's studio to learn if Arachne was truly saying such things. However, Athena did not want Arachne to recognize her. So with her magic, Athena changed her own appearance from a beautiful, athletic young woman. Now, with a wave of her hand and a puff of smoke, gone was the young woman, replaced by a woman so old and bent with age that she had to lean on a walking stick to get around. Of course, inside of that body was still the goddess Athena, but no one would have recognized her. In this disguise, she went to visit Arachne, commenting, "Your work is extraordinary, my dear."
Now, when she's saying the word extraordinary, do you guys think that is good? Or do you think it's bad? Is she flattering Arachne?
"I'm certain that you are the finest weaver in the world, except, of course, for the goddess Athena." Hearing this, Arachne, thinking she spoke to a bent old woman, angrily exclaimed, "I am sick of hearing about Athena. I say that I am the best weaver in the world." Well, there was a puff of smoke, and when it blew away, who did Arachne see standing there with her but the beautiful goddess Athena? Arachne was afraid of what the goddess might do to her, but she took a deep breath and said, "I meant what I said. I am prepared to prove that I am the best. I have 2 wooden looms for weaving. You use one, and I shall use the other. Let us see once and for all who is the best."
Do you think that was a good idea to go and challenge a goddess? Remember what I said earlier about myths going and trying to explain how things happen and using fantasy elements. A god or goddess was often used to explain something because they had very magical powers, extraordinary powers that overmatched uh, mortal men or regular men and women in this case. So do you think this was a good idea? Do you think Arachne is going to be able to beat her? Let's find out.
So the goddess and the young woman chose their colors and started to weave. When at last they stopped, Arachne grinned, for she truly believed she had won. She pointed out all the wonderful features of her work to the goddess. "Look," she said, "see how real the stream looks, tumbling down this hillside, and how the water reflects the colors of the sunlight as real water would do. And if you move over here to look, the colors actually change the way real sunlight would change." At last she turned to see Athena's tapestry. Arachne saw at once that the work of the goddess was even finer than her own. Athena had woven a stream, but hers seemed to ripple and move. She had woven clouds that appeared to float lightly in the sky, and above it all she had woven the gods in all of their majesty. Upset and embarrassed, Arachne turned and ran from the room. Athena caught up to her, asking, "Where are you going?" Arachne exclaimed, "I thought I was the best, but you are superior, and no matter how long or hard I work at it, I will never be as good as you are. I shall never weave again." Then Athena grew stern. Everyone is born with some special gift or talent. If only he or she can figure out what it is and how to use it. You must not waste this skill of yours. We shall see to it that you shall weave again.
Were you guys right in your prediction? Did you pick the correct winner of the tapestry creation? Also, right now we have Arachne, whose arrogance has gone away. She's finally been beaten. Someone is better than her. But because of that, Athena also, though, recognizes her skill. She doesn't want Arachne to give up. She doesn't want Arachne to stop doing what she's doing. Why do you think that's important? Why do you think that Athena, after listening to the arrogance of Arachne for so long, why do you think she would want Arachne to continue to weave? Think about that for a little bit. All right.
She reached out and touched Arachne's shoulder with the tip of one finger. Instantly, Arachne began to change shape. She grew smaller and smaller, and her body rounder and rounder. Her legs and arms grew longer and thinner until, after about 5 minutes, Arachne had turned into the very first spider in the world. Today we call the members of the spider family arachnids, and that is why some people say all spiders are the children of Arachne the Weaver.
So like I said, I had one more vocabulary word for you guys, but I wanted to wait until the end of the story. Did you catch it at the end? The word was arachnids. And arachnids is a class of animal that includes spiders, scorpions, and ticks, and some other animals like that. Now, like I said also at the beginning, the word arachne is created the word arachnid. So that's why I was saying those older viewers might have already known the word arachnid and might have gotten a glimpse of what this might have happened or what might happen at the end of the story by knowing that her name was Arachne, especially when I told you guys that a myth explains how something came to be. Now that we've listened to this story, I want us, just like with my other videos, I want us to go ahead and I want you to have a family discussion. So I will have this attached to the description and over there, but we're going to have what's called a shared inquiry discussion. I want you to have this with your family. First off, I hope you guys were listening to the story. So I want you guys to retell the story to your parents. What happened? For those of you guys that are a little bit older, go ahead and summarize the story for me. Tell me what happened in your own words. After you've finished, you can have this discussion over the story using the following questions. Now, parents, don't let your kids just give you one sentence answers, especially not one word answers. Have them explain. Explain their answers by asking them why. Why do you think that is? Or how did you know this? Or where could you find this? Our questions that we're going to be looking at today in our discussion is, how did Arachne feel at first when she was complimented for her good work? How did the flattery end up changing Arachne? And then, are you really good at something? Is there anyone better than you? I want you guys to have that discussion as a family. And like I said, in the comment section below of this video, go ahead and share that with me. I would love to hear what you think you're better at. What do you think you're good at doing? But remember from this story, should you become arrogant? It's okay to have compliments. It's okay to be complimented and flattered by how good you are at something. But don't let it get into arrogance. Don't let it block your view. Don't think that you're better than someone else. The next thing that I will include is what's called a response to text. This is a writing part that you can do to deepen your understanding of the story. And we're going to use the text structure arguing from Gretchen Bernabei. We're going to use this text structure to summarize the myth. We're going to pretend that we're Arachne, and we're going to write a summary of the myth from her point of view, using the question stems from the structure. They said this. Well, who was they in this story? Who began this story by saying something? You write the people that visited Arachne. I said this. Remember when we were talking about I, we just said that we were going to be from Arachne's point of view. So when you see the word I, that means Arachne. So Arachne said this. We argued because. So who was arguing? Arachne and the other people. This might also be because we're summarizing. She also argued finally with Athena, who was the best weaver. How we resolve it. A resolution is how something is solved. So how was this problem solved? What did they do to figure out who was the best? And finally, now I think this. At the end of the story, what does Arachne think? Again, when doing this, parents, don't let your kids just write one sentence responses. That is a kernel essay. If you write just a one sentence, it's the very foundation of this, but we want to elaborate on it. So have them answer those same why questions. Well, why did they do this? What was the reason behind that? What were they feeling? Adding those elements in as well. Like I said, those will be in the description box of this video. I hope you enjoyed this video and will want to listen to it again and again. I'm also going to include the video in the description so that if you want to listen to it without my commentary, you can do that as well. Have a great day, dragons. I can't wait to hear your responses, your stories, your summaries. Like I said, go ahead and type those out in the comment section below. And in our next videos, as people start commenting, I'll share them with us, with our viewers. So thank you again for watching. Remember, subscribe, share this with as many people. Right now, I know that we're stuck at home. So hopefully these little activities make it a little easier for you guys to pass the time. Thank you a lot, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.